Today is March 23rd, 2011. My name is Tanya Finchum. And along with Juliana Nykolaiszyn, we're with the Oklahoma State University Library doing an oral history project called Centennial Farm Families. And we're today in Billings, Oklahoma, to speak with J.D. Waggoner about his Centennial Farm. So thank you for having us today.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's start by having you tell us how your family came to own the land to begin with.
My grandpa got this land. He did not run in the Cherokee Strip. He operated stores about 2 miles south of here, and he swapped that store for this land in '94. He homesteaded it though, and he got the homestead rights and agreement signed by President Theodore Roosevelt after 10 years.
And where had he come from?
Kansas. He was in Kansas.
And what kind of store did he have?
Just what you call a wholesale store now. Sold anything he could to farmers, individuals. Indians as Indians. Am I supposed to say that?
That's why you just moved. Okay, we're back. A general mercantile, basically.
Yes.
Basically. And the name of that town was?
White Rock.
White Rock. And it's no longer in existence.
No, ma'am.
When he came, did he come by himself or with his parents, or do you know?
I assume he came with his wife.
Okay. And then he moved to this piece of property here.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he do did he farm what?
Well, he had to homestead it and farm for 10 years before he earned the rights to it.
And what did he farm, do you know? Was it wheat or
Well,
cattle?
wheat and grain,
Grain.
probably some cattle.
And how many children did he have?
He had 4 children, 3 boys and 1 woman,
Okay.
1 girl.
And so take us through the who owned it next from him? Who did it pass to?
He gave it to my father, Chet Waggoner, and they lived here and they raised all of us children here. And then I bought it from my mother after he passed away. And then my wife and I lived here, and she passed away about 4 years ago. And I'm still living here. So
when it was your father, did his siblings not have an interest in farming?
Oh, yes, my one brother farms. The rest of us went off and did other things.
Okay. So there wasn't any debate over who got it?
No.
At that point?
No.
Okay. And then, so you had how many brothers and sisters did you?
I had 4 brothers and 3 sisters, and 2 sisters passed away.
It's a big family too.
Yeah, we had 10 of us if we all survived.
And the rest of them were not interested in farming it when it came your turn to get it?
Well, no, my mother she was old, she needed a little money, and she wanted to sell it, and nobody else wanted to buy it, or maybe not even had the money, so I just bought it.
Yeah.
And my brother still farms it today.
Okay, and what's his name?
Wilford.
Okay.
Willie.
J.D. and Willie. So as a child, you grew up on the farm.
Yes, ma'am.
What were some of your chores?
Oh, gather wood, burning a fire, the wood burning pot-bellied stove, we milked, just normal things. But people don't know what it is today.
And what was the farmhouse like in those days?
It was a 2-story building right west of us here, and had 3 big rooms downstairs. No, wait. 2 big rooms and a kitchen, 3 bedrooms and 2 big rooms upstairs. And the only heat you had upstairs was when the wood-burning fireplaces were burning and the chimneys went up out the roof.
It was pretty cool in the winter then.
It was cold in the winter because it set about 2 or 3 foot off the ground, so it was cold.
It was cold.
There was no running water in the house, no bathrooms in the house.
Until when? Do you remember when they first got them?
Yeah, My brother put them in after when he came back from Korea in the 50s. We didn't get electricity until I was in high school.
Made for some cool mornings and some.
One of those old pot-bellied stove kept water.
So would you have to do chores before you went to school in the mornings?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Milking cows or?
Milking cows and whatever we were supposed to do. We went to a country school, a quarter of a mile north and a mile east.
And what was its name?
It was uphill both ways.
As far as Oklahoma, I don't know.
Well, that's a story he always tells. It was uphill both ways. It was a mile and a quarter, and we usually walked. We'd cut across the wheat field if it wasn't wet. And we'd go down the road, and once in a while we'd ride horses.
This is the days before school buses.
Days before school buses, and they didn't have school buses out in the country. We had one woman that taught all 8th grades in one room building.
And would you take your lunch?
Mm.
And usually, what would that be?
Well, just a sandwich or fruit. You couldn't come home because you didn't have time.
And from there, you went to?
I went to Billings. 6th grade, I went to Billings. They closed this school down and wanted me to go 3 miles further east, and it was just as close to Billings. So my brother worked out of Billings, so he went to town every morning, and I rode with him.
You graduated from high school in Billings?
In Billings, yes, ma'am, in 1952.
And then what did you do?
I went to Northern Oklahoma Junior College, which was no joke. Graduated from there in 54, and then went to Oklahoma A&M and graduated from there in 57.
With a degree in?
Mechanical engineering, petroleum option.
Okay. Mechanical engineering came in handy on the farm?
Well, I didn't come back to the farm after I graduated.
Okay. Well, then take us through your career, and then we'll come back to the farm.
I went to work for the old Magnolia Company as a gas plant engineer in South Texas in Vanderbilt, which was between Houston and Corpus Christi. And when you went to work back in those days, they moved you every 2 years. They said to get you experience. I moved to North Texas, Electra, Texas. Then I moved to Albany, Texas. Then I moved to Wichita Falls. Then I moved to Pampa. Then I moved back to Wichita Falls, and I moved to Midland, Texas. Stayed with Magnolia, changed their name to Mobile for 10 years, and I resigned from them and went to work for a independent called Texas Pacific, which is owned by the Seagram's Whiskey Company. And in 1982, they sold out to Sun. And I stayed on with Sun until I retired in 91. Engineering ranks to management to vice president of production with Texas Pacific, and then to a regional manager with Sun. I got some overseas experience. I spent 2 years in our international department with Sun. I lived in Dallas, but I was overseas. I had men overseas that I worked with, but I did not live overseas. And in 91, I retired. And we moved here and built a farmhouse.
In 91?
Mm-hmm.
And you came back to Oklahoma just to do that? Or?
Well, no, I moved back to Oklahoma City, and I was in Oklahoma City when I retired. Most of my time was in Texas.
Not too awfully far from home.
No, not too awful far, no.
So did you always want to come back to the farm, or?
Well, my dad wanted me to come back and farm, but I told him no, I didn't want to farm. And my wife, I met her in Dallas, and we got married, and she wanted to come back up here and build a house on the farm. So we did. After we retired, we came back up here and built a house.
About 10 years ago then. 91? No, 20.
20 years
20.
ago.
I had to do my math this time.
You went to Oklahoma State?
Actually, no.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So when your father had the farm, did he do any soil conservation efforts or anything like that?
Oh yeah, he did something. Yeah, but when he first started, he worked other jobs. It was hard to make a living with 8 kids and with what they raised and all that. So,
But did he have to have hired help with that
was,
many?
no, not 5 boys. He didn't have to.
Well, did they divide the chores by gender? Like, did the girls do housework or did they help?
Well, no, they helped some.
Oh.
You know, just whoever was around it when they needed something done.
Okay. Do you remember your first tractor?
I remember him going to get a tractor that had the old lug wheels on it. And then I remember him going to get a case which had rubber tires on it.
So did he ever have a combine?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
But first they had the thrash machines where they just pulled to the field and, well, they shocked the wheat and then it hauled the shocks to the thrash machine, and they had big stacks of straw when they harvested the grain through the threshers. And then they had a tractor pull a combine, and they got the self-propelled combines. Yeah, my dad used to, you go out the field and you had barefoot and he'd spit tobacco on your toes. You know? He always chewed tobacco and spit on your toes.
Well, I guess if you had a bee sting, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Did he participate in the rings, any of the rings, the thrashing rings, or where he work around?
Yeah, all the farmers did. And all the women, you didn't come in to eat, you ate out there in the field. They'd take the food out to the field and feed the guys.
And what would that typically be?
Just like you was here at the house. Regular food, fried chicken, whatever they'd cook.
They raise their own chickens, I guess.
Yes, ma'am. And the chickens came in the mail. They'd mail the chickens to you in the mail. You didn't never do that, no?
Not that they mailed them to you, huh?
Oh, yeah.
We haven't even had anyone tell us that.
You'd order them, they'd come through the mail. You have to go to town, pick them up.
How many at one time?
Whatever they'd order, you know. I don't know how many folks. We just had chickens all summer, eat all summer. Twice a day.
Did you have to kill them yourself?
I had to kill them.
Julie likes to know how.
Well, I step on their head and yank their legs and leave their head on the ground. Some people could twist them, and others used a hatchet. Any way you kill them.
Everybody seems to have a different technique as to how they did it, depending on how they were taught or how Mama did it or Grandma.
I never could bring the chickens head off. I was always the littlest. I was the youngest one in the family.
Okay.
Well, I had a sister died after I was born. She was born after I was. So.
Well, how many ponds are there on the property?
Now, 3.
And originally?
2.
And the original was 160 acres?
Yes.
Okay. And how much do you have now?
Here, I got 180 acres.
Okay. And 3 ponds. And you do mostly wheat now?
Yeah, that's all he does. My brother just plants wheat's all he plants.
We didn't see any fences, so we figured it wasn't cattle.
Well, we used to, but I just bail this out here now and keep the cattle someplace else.
Well, when you were growing up, tell me a little bit about the holidays.
The food, or?
Well, I mean, would you stop to celebrate a holiday?
Well, it's according to what was going on.
I mean, if it was Christmas time, what would you do?
Oh, we'd have a big celebration, big dinner. Every Sunday we had a big dinner. My mother, you know, she just didn't make one meat. She'd have 2 or 3 meats, and all the family would get together. You know, there wasn't much gifts with 8 kids. Only 1 gift apiece. But it was always good. There's a lot of love.
Would you have a program at school?
Oh, yeah, they always had a program. Give you a sack of candy at church, give you a sack of candy. Same thing today.
So on the Sundays, you would do this big meal after going to church.
Well, no, we hardly ever went to church.
Okay.
If there was something to do, you did the work here. In those days, we had a barn, and all the hay never got rain on it. They always put the hay in the barn, and it was up high. And I remember a lot of times at night it come up, start to rain. Dad take everybody to the field and they'd haul hay because he didn't want it to get wet.
And if it was pitch black,
If it was pitch black, he was out there loading that hay. All the family was there too. Nowadays they just stack it outside.
and roll it up instead of the squares, I guess.
Well, they still have their big old roll round bales. They weigh about 1,200 pounds. But you can't lift them now like you used to,
So other buildings on the farm, you had farmhouse and then the barn. What were some of the other
And you had a
buildings?
chicken shack and outdoor bathroom. Used to have a smokehouse. You take your meat in. Like I said, we didn't have electricity. So you couldn't have a lot of meat. I remember a lot of times our neighbor over here, you'd see him have his calf hung out north side of the house in the wintertime to keep it cold. And when it snowed, you was snowed in maybe for 3 or 4 days at a time because they did not have the equipment to clean the highways. One morning I woke up and there was, I think about 30-some people in the house that got trapped in the snow. A lot of good things.
A lot of good things, yes.
Well, since you didn't have refrigeration, I'm guessing lots of canning.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of canning. We had a garden right out behind you there. And it was probably an acre, just, my brother said he would never grow another pea. We'd have big tubs of green peas, have to shell them, potatoes, corn, whatever.
Well, with 7 children in the home.
8.
8 plus your parents, so 10 people to feed.
Yeah.
That took a pretty big garden.
And then when they did build some lockers in town where you could have meat in the refrigerator, that everybody would rent a locker and keep your meat stored in there.
In Billings?
Yeah.
And it was
And so you had these old kind of refrigerators, you'd have to have a block of ice.
so there was an ice plant in Billings too?
The old boys delivered ice for a long time.
And I guess we're too far north for it to have a cotton gin.
But we didn't have cotton up here in those days. I can remember we raised corn. We'd shuck corn by hand. One year we raised peanuts. I don't know why. My grandpa and dad on another farm down here on Creek Bottom, they always raised watermelons, cantaloupes, and stuff. And we'd go break the watermelons open and just eat the heart out of them. My grandpa couldn't figure out what was going on. He probably knew, he didn't tell us.
And would he sell those, or was it just for family consumption?
Well, there was too many to just for the family.
Take it into Billings to sell or somewhere else?
Probably.
Well, in high school, were you involved with FFA or 4-H? Or?
FFA. I don't even know if we had 4-H back then. I don't remember. Yeah, an FFA.
Participate in county fairs then?
Yes, ma'am.
And where would they, I guess, they'd be in Perry?
Perry. We'd used to have one here in Billings and go to Perry. Then Enid if people went that far.
And what would you show?
Pigs and sheep.
And do you remember much about the county agent?
No.
Or home demonstration agent would your mother participate in Homemaker Club or anything?
I don't believe so. I don't remember. My mother came from a big family also. There was, I think, 8 in her family. 7 girls and 1 boy.
From where did her side of the family come from?
Up in Indiana, I think. He was originally, my grandfather on her side was from Canada.
Okay.
I have the his citizenization papers someplace here in the house. And they also ran in the Cherokee Strip. But they sold the farm after her father and mother passed away. And so we don't have it anymore.
Well, any idea why your grandfather chose this area in general?
No.
Maybe the Strip.
Well, the Strip, I imagine, had a lot to do with it. Land opening, and he didn't have anything. He got married up here, I think it was Austin, Kansas, and it was close. And he was a real small guy. That's all I can remember about him. But because I was born in '34, so I don't remember seeing him do too much work. But my grandmother, I didn't know her because she had something, I guess you'd call it Alzheimer's today, and he took care of her. And I don't ever remember her talking or anything. She was just kind of an invalid.
And what were you going to say? No. Well, when you were in high school too, at that point you didn't expect to be back on the farm, actually farming.
Well, I really didn't think about it in high school because I didn't make up my mind what I was going to do until I graduated. And I went down to Oklahoma A&M. And I graduated from Oklahoma A&M. I didn't graduate from Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm. You're an Aggie.
I'm an Aggie.
That's all right.
And I went down, I was in school, and they had a senior day down there, and I went through the engineering department. I was enthused by it, so I decided to study engineering. I had a little scholarship from agriculture to study agriculture, but I turned it down. I went to engineering.
And that was a tough program back then. I mean, we hear lots of stories that, it was pretty rigorous.
It was. Like I say, I went to Tonkawa first, and I'm glad I did because I wasn't that bright of a student, but I got some study habits. And we had some good instructors down there at Stillwater. I can remember one old instructor, I think it was mechanics and dynamics. And he told us that you guys have any trouble, call me and I'll come over and work with you at night. And we would. We'd call him and he'd come over and work with us at night. You don't find that very much.
Were you the first in your family to go to college?
Yeah, my brother went to service and he came back and went to college. So I think I was. Him and I was the only two that went to college. All of my family, every one of us graduated except one of my sisters. She got sick and she had a tumor or something on her lung and she had missed about a year and she never did graduate. But the rest of us graduated from Billings.
Well, at Oklahoma A&M, do you remember where you lived?
Yeah. Right across from the student union, there was the Methodist group, and we was right behind them in a garage apartment. A friend of mine here in Billings, his aunt or something owned it, and we lived there. We were supposed to live on campus, but I didn't.
And would you come back to the farm often when you were in college?
Oh yeah. When I worked at a grocery store down there. The old boy used to own a grocery store in Billings. He owned a grocery store down there. I'd work down there when I could, and I worked on weekends.
And how would you get back and forth?
When folks would come down to get me, or my brothers would come down to get me. Couldn't afford a car back then.
Didn't have to hitchhike?
No. I'd say I want to come home. They'd come get me.
Well, how would you let them know you wanted to come?
Call them on the telephone.
Okay. Well, I mean, some places didn't have those.
Well, I know.
Growing up, did you have a party line?
Yes.
And do you remember what your ring was?
No. I just remember when you pick it up, it'd be a click, 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 you know.
Well,
Everybody listened.
what did you do for fun on the farm back in your childhood?
Well, play games, act like we was sheriff, all that good stuff. We go to town whenever we could. Go to a picture show maybe once a week.
Billings had a theater?
And everything back there in those days.
Huh.
Out here east at the country school, we even had a basketball team. I don't think we won any games, but we played
Outside or inside?
outside
Outside.
on the rocks.
And did you play?
Well, I tried.
What position would you do it?
Wherever they wanted me.
Would you ever get into mischief?
No.
No? All those kids? Come on. No mischief on the farm?
All kinds of mischief. We don't talk about that.
And how would you be punished?
Well, it's according to who caught you. My dad had a hand that just fit right across your butt. And he could hit. You lived under his rules or no rules. As long, you could do whatever you wanted to as long as it's what he wanted you to do. It's not like that today.
And so you got into a lot of mischief.
Well, not that much. I didn't get that many whippings, but I got some. You remembered.
Yes, that's true. So the outhouse, was it a one-seater or a two?
Two-seater.
But that meaning a family.
Well, you only want one at a time, but it still had two seats.
And what was bath time like?
Well, a lot of times in the summer, we took our baths in the pond.
Mm-hmm.
In the wintertime, you had a little round tub and heat the water, jump in, and the next one jump in.
Now, you were the youngest, so did you get to go first, or did you end up going
Probably
last?
I learned to swim. My dad threw me out in deep water and say, swim or drown.
In the pond?
Yeah. But you knew you didn't mean it. You didn't know it, but now you did. And my brothers was all there.
So with bath time though, with the tub, was it inside or outside?
Inside.
Inside, in the kitchen or?
In the kitchen.
in the
Yeah.
kitchen. And she would do laundry?
Yep.
Out.
We had, we had a little utility room, but most of the time, I think the washing machine was on the porch.
Did it have a front porch and a back porch then?
Yes, yes.
Side porch or?
Well, no, it was a side porch out of the kitchen, south door of the kitchen, and the one on the front.
And did you have a cellar
Yes, ma'am.
under the house or?
No, right beside the house.
That'd be pretty big to hold all that candy.
Well, yeah, and the potatoes. And when we all got down there in the storms, it was pretty good size.
Any close calls with tornadoes growing up?
Oh, yeah. In the early days, I don't remember, but some of the later days, I remember some of the tornadoes around. But my dad had hardly go to the cellar. He'd stand up on top and watch, and we'd all be down in the cellar. Got one now, but I haven't used it yet. Hope I don't have to.
Was there a windmill for water?
Well, we had 3 wells. There was a windmill down south, and we had 2 wells here that had pumps on them. And this one over here by the house, that's where we got all of the water in the early days.
Hand pump.
It's a hand pump.
And what was your favorite meal?
All of them.
We're not a picky eater.
You weren't picky eater back then. If you were, you didn't get nothing to eat unless your mother saved something back for you. And she usually would if you didn't. Because I'd get mad when we run away from home and, stupid stuff.
Was she good make bread and biscuits and that sort of thing?
The girl says, give me a recipe for this. She said, well, you just take a pinch of this, a pinch of that. She didn't have anything written down I knew of.
Did she sew much?
Oh, yeah.
Make your clothes or the girls?
I don't know. The girls were all older than I was. I don't think she made ours. Probably hand down, buy what we can buy. In the spring, when school was out, you started going barefooted. You didn't put shoes on unless you went to town or back to school.
Now you mentioned your father had a job outside the home, outside the farm.
Yeah.
What did he do?
Well, he done a number of jobs. He worked on pipelines, whatever he could do. He used to shear sheep. He'd go off and shear sheep, and we used to raise sheep. And he used to have a lot of various jobs, whatever he could do to raise a little money.
And did the oil companies ever come knocking to do a little exploration on the farm?
Yeah, well, they drilled a couple wells, but they drilled around, but they didn't drill the wells on here until I think I was in college.
They ever find anything? Or?
Oh yeah, they had 2 wells produced, and they plugged them out, and somebody else come in and drilled a couple more wells. So that's how I bought it. So.
And your family retained the mineral rights on the farm?
All except a small percent. My grandpa back in the 50s sold a small royalty for 50 years or as long as their production on the lease. And there is production, so that royalty's still out. And they won't sell it back to me. I bought part of it, but I can't get the other part. And they're looking around again. Companies are coming in. This horizontal drilling, which is not new. It's been in for years, but it's new in some areas. And they're looking at this area. They're getting ready to drill a well north here about 4 miles. So I guess it's going to be a horizontal well. So it's getting interesting.
Did your father ever use any of the drip gas produced, or?
Well, everybody used drip gas produced.
Yeah.
They used to have those drips. They go get them. You hear a car knock, you know it's burning drip. You know, one kid got burnt pretty bad. I guess he lit a cigarette or something when he got some drip and got it on his clothes and got burnt pretty bad. Well, you know about drip. You use drip. There's a big pipeline goes right through this front yard out here. I guess it's about 24 or something. I mean, it's a pretty good sized gas pipeline.
So besides the wind blowing out here, you hear the pump jacks doing their thing.
Well, you can hear them at times, but they're not bad. They're not bad.
Not too much different than a big rig going by, I guess.
No. I worked down in North Texas where they had these central powers and they had rods running out to wells. And the wells didn't have the engines on them. They use these rods for pumps. So I had a lot of good experience with the oil companies.
Well, then you understand some of what they're doing out here then, having that aspect.
Yeah. And with the oil companies, like I said, I spent some international. I got to travel a lot. Had a good future with the oil companies. Good jobs, good bosses. I just hate to see some of them sell out, but they have sold out. I never thought Mobil would go out of business, but they sold Exxon.
Yeah. Happens in business.
Yeah, but those big businesses, you don't think government let that happen, but they did.
Yeah.
Just like the AT&T wanted to buy up this other.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sissy's talking to us. But even after all that travel, you still wanted to come back to Oklahoma, to this piece of property.
Hey, they ain't nothing like the United States of all those countries I was saying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could have stayed in Texas, but
Well, I had enough of Texas. I could drive down there and back in a day. So if I want to go, my grandkids live down there, and I go down there. So
So how many children do you have?
we had one child. It was her child by a previous marriage. We got 2 grandkids and 1 great grandkid.
Well, since your brother farms it, does he have children that would?
Well, I'm leaving them something, but they're up there
60.
40, 50 years old now. So yeah, I'm the youngest of 76, so they're over.
It's true. 160 acres though is on 180 now.
Yeah. Well, it's 180. There was 20 acres right south here that some old boy lived in Oregon and he hadn't paid his taxes on the farm, and Dad somehow got it from him. And I think just by picking up the taxes, paying the taxes. So it was 10 acres of grass pasture. So that's why 20 acres of grass pasture, excuse me. So that's why there's 180 there.
And it's attached or
Oh yeah.
to this. So.
Right.
How close is the railroad to this piece?
I guess Perry, Red Rock.
But back in your childhood though,
Oh, it ran through Billings. The railroad ran through Billings.
so would they be issues of hobos? Do you remember hobos?
We used to ride the train once in a while.
To where?
I'll go to Ponk City, somebody pick us up and come back, dog a walk. Just something different.
Just something new. What would you do in Ponca City?
Get off the train, wait for them to come get us. Get out of Billings.
Something to do.
Yeah.
Would your sisters do that too, or just your
No, I
brothers?
don't think my sisters do that. In the old days when they harvest wheat, they would have elevators, and they didn't get that many boxcars. Couldn't get them out. They could only fill so many, and they'd block where they couldn't get any more cars to load, railroad cars, and you'd have traffic backed up a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile north, 3/4 of a mile south. And they may get 1 truck dumped a day if they were lucky. So it used to be busy around this place, but you see in Billings there's nothing anymore hardly.
But if it once had a grocery store and
Well, they had 3 grocery stores at one
a
time,
theater
2 beer joints.
and car dealership or anything.
Oh yeah, they
like
used to
that.
be a car dealership.
Have your neighbors changed through the years?
Oh yeah.
So you probably have seen a difference in the way neighbors help each other. And
Oh, that you don't have help like that used to have. No.
Well, the other famous Billings person is Henry Bellman. Did you have anything to say about it? Okay.
way to put them on the spot.
Forget
He
that
was-
question then.
He was senator and governor.
Enough said, huh?
I know his brother real well. Brother's a nice guy.
George?
George Sheldon. He's in, well, it's not a nursing home, kind of assisted living over in Eden now.
Well, he farmed for a long time too.
Oh,
though.
yeah. He farmed till he 4-wheeler threw him and broke 7 ribs.
You didn't have too many of those back in those days. It was horses that you went.
Yeah.
I guess
Horses
you could still
are-
have accidents too, though. But
Oh, yeah, he can fall off of those too.
Well, when you were growing up and in high school and college, do you remember how your parents kept records of what was going on here on the farm?
I think Dad just had a shoebox and kept everything in there. And the bank.
Mm-hmm. Just handwrite everything.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
man. That's about all he was handwriting.
Yeah, and he kept his money in the bank, but did he feel comfortable with that?
I think he felt real comfortable with the banks back then.
Mm-hmm.
And, he didn't have a lot of money.
well, when he bought a new tractor or a new piece of equipment, would he save until he could pay cash for it, or?
I don't really know. Because I was so young and I really didn't care back then.
Well, he may not have shared that information.
Well,
with,
he
with the
didn't
kids
share. He
either.
didn't share that information. I just knew that he was good with numbers. He could sit down and come up with a multiply or something like that. And I guess that's what I got. I got good with numbers, and he was awful good with numbers. When I was in college, they told me if I needed money, I could write checks on their account. And the old boy told him, said, "Boy, he'll bust you." But I didn't.
Well, today, what are some of the structures on the farm?
Well, that shed out there that I built when I built the house, and this house, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. Tore the old barn down. It started falling in. Somebody burnt the house down. I guess it's probably in the 70s. All the other structures were tore down. So when we moved here, they was really we had the barn tore. That was the last thing that left, and we built a shed in the house.
In the close to where the original house had stood.
Yeah, the house had just stood right west of us there on the other side of those trees.
Well, when you tore the various buildings down, did you recycle the wood or do something different with it, or?
Well, some of the wood from the barn, and then they burnt some of it, and my brother-in-law tore the barn down, took some of the wood out, and built him a shed at what his place was. But the other stuff, I wasn't here when they tore it all down.
Well, were you here when they built it?
When they built the house?
The barn.
No. See, the barn was old.
Oh. So where would they have gotten the wood is why I was curious.
You know, I'm not familiar. I heard that some of these places they went all the way to New Mexico to get trees to plant in their yards. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure where Grandpa and them got the wood to build the house. It was a sod built old house, but it was a cold old house. It was built off the ground and no insulation.
Did it have linoleum floor?
Some of it did, some of it just had wood floor.
So it creaked.
And like I said, we just had those pot-belly stoves to keep warm with. But they kept you warm if you kept the fire out.
In the old house, where was your bedroom?
Upstairs.
And you shared the room with your
Brothers.
Brothers?
Yeah.
So how many in a bed?
Well, there's probably two of us. Well, there may have been more in wintertime because the west room was kind of cold. We all stayed in one room.
The 2 bedrooms upstairs, you said?
The 2 big rooms, yeah.
2 rooms.
Yeah.
Girls got more room then, huh?
Well, maybe.
So what was Thanksgiving like?
Well, just like Christmas, a big holiday whenever we could all get together. My mother's folks and dad's folks, you know.
Would they come to the farm?
Well, they'd come to the farm. Some of the time. Some of them would. Some of them didn't much care to come. But
Were they scattered around in Oklahoma or they moved further away?
yeah, when I was young, most of them lived here. Then Dad's 2 brothers lived in Tulsa. His sister died at an early age. My mother's family, some of them went to California. And she had 3 sisters and a brother here, and the rest of them was scattered. But they lived here in the early parts of their life. Left here.
Oklahoma's home, huh?
Oklahoma's home. Yes, to me. Like I say, I went to a lot of places, nothing like the United States.
Well, do you recall some home remedies?
Oh, yeah. Sugar and kerosene.
For what?
Whooping cough. Coughing. Never heard that?
I can't imagine the flavors, what I'm thinking.
Well, it wasn't too good. I don't know what else they used, but they had a lot of stuff. If you cut your hand and you're bleeding, put pepper on it.
Pepper?
Yeah.
Black pepper.
Black pepper. It's supposed to clog up. But I don't remember too much of that. I do remember that. The castor oil, I remember that.
Well, if you got sick or broke a bone or something, you'd go into Billings or Perry?
Billings. Dr. Renfro, and if he couldn't do it, he'd take you someplace else.
Was he the only doctor in Billings?
At that time, I think he was the only one. I remember one time I got the hook and calls. They tried to take me to town, but snowstorm stopped us, so we came back home. And my mother got burnt by one kerosene lamp. I don't know whether it spilled or exploded, but she burned her arm, and she was in town about, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks.
They had a small hospital then?
No, just a place where he had rooms, so he could watch her. And one of my brothers, his right arm, I guess he must have had polio when he was young, because he could never really use that arm too much. But he could, hold stuff with it, but he couldn't kind of cramp his hands. So, and he was limping in his right leg, I guess, too.
Were you born in the farmhouse?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't.
I know I can't ask you about your siblings because you were the last one, so.
I imagine most of them were born here. I just assume that.
My guess is you probably were too, or maybe in Billings.
Well, it was either one of the two places. I agree to that. But
did you have family pets growing up?
oh yeah, had all kind of pets, dogs. Would make pets out of sheep, kids.
Any snake stories?
Hated those things. Go across the pasture and step on one. As long as I could see them in time, I wasn't mad. But in the ponds, they had a lot of water moccasins in the ponds. We swam with them.
Carefully.
Seeing you're in. A lot of hunting around. Rabbits in the wintertime, quail, squirrels.
You clean them?
Yeah.
Clean them?
Yeah. Mother cook them.
Wouldn't be much else out here, I guess, too. Deer?
Well, see, we didn't have deer back then. They brought deer in after that. Pheasants they brought in.
Coyotes?
There was coyotes. We didn't have mountain lions. We had road runners. You don't see them today.
And someone was telling us about a smaller version of a skunk that they don't see around too much anymore.
A skunk.
Yeah. What did they? A skunk?
Some type of cat.
City cat.
Yeah, that's
City
it.
cat.
Yeah.
We used to have those.
Hadn't heard of that. So
It's just a wild cat, I think. We used to have a lot of horny toads. You ever heard of horny toads?
frog. Yeah.
Well, it's not
No,
a frog,
no.
no. It's just a little, kind of like a lizard with a little, kind of like thorns sticking up on it. We used to have them real. A lot of tarantulas, but you don't see them too much anymore either. Big old spiders.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a few of those.
When we built the house up here, there's a lot of snakes come up and lay on the porch. I killed a bunch.
Well, do you have that or it could be more than one, but a memory growing up from your time on the farm that just sticks out in your mind, that when you'd get together maybe for a family reunion that everybody would always talk about or tell?
Just talk about the old times is about the only thing, It's not like it is today. I say that for it. We always ate at the same time. Unless somebody be out in the field, they'd take them lunch, or maybe somebody go out and relieve them, the other come in. But usually I remember Mom would say, go wave the tablecloth for Daddy. He's over and he'll be watching to see if it's time to eat or not. That's the way you signal to him.
What cloth?
Yeah.
Did you listen to the radio back in those days too much?
You did about once a week. You had a battery and you didn't want the battery to go down, so you'd all get together and turn the radio on and listen to it.
And the first TV in the neighborhood.
Well, I remember that the old boy in Billings had TV, and he'd sit in one, and then people would go to town and watch TV. See, that was my brother's overseas. One of the neighbors had a TV, and they asked the people over because they was going to show some of the 45th.
Times have changed, haven't they?
Times has changed.
Now we have cell phone towers. There's the one I know.
And they still don't work.
True. Yeah. She didn't have any bars.
There were some dead spots around here.
Is there a tower on your property?
No.
No.
I don't think I'd let them build a tower on it. It'd take up too much room.
All the wires. Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes up quite a bit. Looks like. Okay. What next? What have we not asked you that we want to know?
I don't know.
I've asked everything.
She's shedding her hair. He really gets heavy hair on him, and it's all the way down to the skin this year. Just big old clumps of it. You just go pull it off of it.
Well, you mentioned that you'd like your family to keep the farm in your family for as long as they can. Why is that important to you?
Well, this farm's been in the family for over 100 years, and I just like for it to stay in there. Like for it to stay in existence under the Waggoner name.
When was the last time you walked the whole 160 acres?
Probably never.
Around boundary, I guess I
I walked the fence lines a lot, but not north in the wheat field. But when I first moved here, I had my cows here, so I used to walk. And I walk over to the far side. Try to walk every day, about a mile and a half.
So it's pretty flat from what I can see, and you would not be too difficult to find your way home.
Oh no.
Some of it's 160 acres with woods, then it might be a little bit more difficult. So you're familiar with most sections of it, most parts of it.
Yeah.
Any streams?
Not on this one, no.
Well, the ponds, 2 were already here, and then 1 was made.
Yes.
Was that part of the conservation efforts too?
No. Dad built one to keep the land from washing, and it filled up with mud. And then there was a small pond over there, and they drilled a well, and I had them make it bigger. And then I dug it out again here about 2 years ago. Just for water.
Not to swim in anymore.
No, not to swim in anymore. No. You'd probably sink in up to your waist in mud.
Anything else, Julie?
I'm done.
Well, that covers it too, unless you have something else you want to add.
I don't think so.
Well, thank you very much for having us
Well,
today.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Hope I answered all your questions.
You did.